Coming up, a look at the new personal record set by Loyola track and field athletes at the Illini Challenge. We have your highlights.
Plus men's volleyball updates.
And Masters Tournament highlights.
I'm Gabbi Lumma.
And I'm Julie West.
All of this and so much more.
Rambler Sports Locker begins now. Welcome back, sports fans. Another week, another RSL episode.
Here in Chicago, we're welcoming the warmer weather and the beginning of the end of the semester, and for Julie and I, graduation.
It's crazy to think that our time at Loyola is coming to an end, but there are still plenty of things happening in the world of sports to cover before we say our goodbyes.
That is right, Julie. The Loyola men's volleyball season is also nearing its end, but the team doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. The Ramblers host McKendree University in the first round of the MIVA Conference Tournament, April 15th. Amelia Villhauer has more updates on the team and its upcoming match.
The regular season for Loyola men's volleyball has come to a close, and even though the team has had a killer season, it seems that they just fell short for their last two matches of the regular season. On April 6th, the Ramblers lost to the Ball State Cardinals in a final score of 3-0. Despite the loss, there was a strong fight put up by the team with an impressive total of 42 kills in the game. After playing Ball State, they had their final game for the regular season on April 8th in a matchup against Ohio State University. Unfortunately, the Ramblers ended up losing again, and the Buckeyes won with a final score of 3-0. These games ended up leading to a shocking three-way tie for the MIVA regular season title between Loyola, Ohio State, and Ball State. Due to the tiebreaker procedures, the Ramblers ended up being the #2 seed for the upcoming MIVA championship. The quarterfinals for the championship will be taking place in Gentile Arena on April 15th, and Loyola will be taking on the #7 seed McKendree Bearcats. Good luck, Ramblers. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Amelia Villhauer.
Thanks, Amelia. While the team may have lost the past two matches, one player had a remarkable achievement. During Loyola's game against Quincy on April 1st, redshirt senior Cole Schlatter reached 1,000 career kills. Following the game against Ball State, Cole now has 1,020 kills and counting. Congratulations, Cole. And speaking of success, the weather is heating up, and so is the Loyola softball team, who have won 4 out of 6 games this month. Here is Bazzone with the breakdown.
That's right, Gabbi and Julie. The Loyola softball team has been hitting it out of the park. Despite a slow start in non-conference play to start their season, the Ramblers sit at 3rd place in the Atlantic 10 with an 8-4 record in conference play. They also have the #1 pitching staff in the league per the Atlantic 10 website. Anchored by sophomores Peyton Pepkowski and Andy Bronowitz, both pitchers have each thrown a no-hitter this season, and the staff has allowed the 4th fewest runs in the A10. The Ramblers are coming off a 3-2 loss against the UIC Flames on April 12th, but look to move up in the standings against George Washington University April 15th and 16th. April 15th features a doubleheader at 12 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. and a noon start on April 16th at the Loyola Softball Park. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm William Bazzone.
Thanks, William. The team is currently ranked 3rd in the A10 with an impressive record of 8 wins and 4 losses in conference play. It's going to be very interesting to see how the team shapes up as we approach the 1-month countdown until its first A10 championship.
And Loyola's track and field team returned to work this past weekend at the Illini Challenge, where more than 25 Ramblers participated in 8 different events.
Let's send it over to Samantha Martinez at the track and field with highlights from the event.
Thanks, Julie. On April 8th, 5 Loyola track and field athletes set new personal records at the Illini Challenge in Champaign, Illinois. Grace Kuhn started the night off setting a personal record and placing first in the women's 1,500-meter run with a time of 4 minutes and 31 seconds. In that same event, Sophia Manners set a new personal record with a time of 4 minutes and 46 seconds. 1 second less than her previous record. In the men's 1,500-meter run, Fionn Harrington and Woody Jerome left with remarkable times, both setting new personal records. Harrington placed second with a time of 3 minutes and 51 seconds. Jerome placed 7th with a time of 3 minutes and 55 seconds, 6 seconds shorter than his last record. In the 5K, Ava Bernard set a new personal record with a time of 19 minutes and 7 seconds. The Ramblers will continue their season at the Brian Clay Invitational in Azusa, California from April 13th to April 15th. For Rambler Sports Locker, this is Samantha Martinez.
Thanks, Samantha. It's so exciting to see the track and field team see a lot of success this season.
Now, the Masters tournament teed off on April 6th at the Augusta National Golf Club.
From thrilling shots to dramatic finishes, this year's tournament did not disappoint. Here's Chloe Morrissey to take a closer look at all the excitement from this special Easter weekend.
Players from the PGA and LIV Tours came together for the 2023 Masters Championship. Starting off strong before the tournament even started was Seamus Power, who had back-to-back hole-in-ones during Wednesday's par 3 contest. Texas A&M's Sam Bennett took home the low am and recorded one of the best 36-hole starts by an amateur in Masters history, sitting at 8 under par after the second round. Sahith Theekala channeled Tiger Woods on the 16th hole and chipped in for birdie during the final round, emulating Woods' iconic chip-in on the same hole in 2005. Tiger Woods made history of his own after recording his 23rd consecutive cut and tying the all-time record for cuts made at the Masters. Woods withdrew in the final round of the tournament due to a foot injury. After starting off the first round of the tournament putting for a double bogey, Jon Rahm never looked back and secured his green jacket in his second major championship after a strong finish. Rahm shot a final round of 69, which included 4 birdies and finished at 12 under par. Until next year, golf fans, for Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Chloe Morrissey.
Thanks, Chloe. From start to finish, it was an incredible display of talent and skills from the world's top golfers. Congratulations to Jon Rahm on his incredible win.
The Chicago White Sox are getting in the swing of their season with a 5-8 record after 3 weeks of play.
The Southsiders' most recent series against the Pittsburgh Pirates ended in a loss and some tension between the teams. Nate Keough has more on the incident.
The Pittsburgh Pirates raised the Jolly Roger this past Saturday after defeating the Chicago White Sox 1-0. However, the win was overshadowed by an injury to Pirates shortstop Oneil Cruz. Cruz fractured his left ankle after a collision at the plate with White Sox catcher Seby Zavala. Cruz was running home to score but decided to slide too late, resulting in an awkward mid-slide position when Zavala met him for the tag. While Cruz laid on the ground in pain, Zavala yelled at him, clearly upset with the late slide. Pirates on-deck hitter Carlos Santana did not appreciate this, and both benches cleared. Some argue that Zavala was blocking the plate, but by rule, the catcher is allowed to be in the way of the plate if the path of the ball leads him there. Ultimately, baseball analysts agree that Cruz's injury was his own fault for sliding too late. The Pirates' Twitter announced Cruz had surgery on his ankle on April 9th and will be out at least 4 months. Regardless of who is at fault, we wish Cruz a quick recovery. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Nate Keough.
Thanks, Nate. All of us here at Rambler Sports Locker are wishing Cruz a speedy and full recovery. Now, as we've seen, tension between sports teams is nothing new. But a recent controversy between basketball players Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese had sparked a heated debate. After the women's NCAA championship game, the 2-star athletes have faced accusations for unsportsmanlike conduct and disrespectful behavior. Here is Lucas Kim with a deeper look into the controversy in this week's Ramble.
Hello, and thanks for tuning into The Ramble. I'm your host, Lucas Kim, here with Vanessa Hoxha and William Bazzone. As the NBA playoffs begin, the men's and women's college basketball tournaments come to a close. UConn took home the dub against the San Diego Aztecs in the men's tournament, and the LSU Tigers upset the Iowa Hawkeyes in the women's. An average of 9.9 million viewers were tuned in to the championship women's game, peaking at 12.6 million. It is now the most viewed NCAA D1 women's basketball game on record. The women's tournament also saw over 357,000 fans attend their games live. But despite the record achievements in women's sports, the only thing the media is talking about is a taunting hand gesture that LSU guard Angel Reese made after the game to Iowa's Caitlin Clark. Competing brings out a lot of emotions, especially when you're minutes away from a championship title. This isn't the only time we've seen taunting off and on the court. Famous athletes such as Patrick Beverley, Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan, and John Morant are infamous for their gestures towards the opposing team. So my question for you guys this week is, are taunting gestures by athletes appropriate during a game, or does it show poor sportsmanship? Vanessa, let's start with you.
Well, Lucas, I'm going to begin with getting a little nitpicky on the wording. Just defining appropriate. just doesn't sit well with me because I think it's a little bit subjective, and I think that people may define it in different ways, and some people may see something as appropriate and some may see it as inappropriate.
I guess appropriate would be something that is not nice. How about that?
Okay. So I'm
it's
just gonna,
offensive.
Okay, all right. I'm just gonna go in off the bat and say that taunting it's a part of the game. It's a part of the sport, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, you name it. I mean, it comes with being competitive. It comes with having fun, the excitement of it, and as well as celebrating. And some may think if it is like a crazy gesture, Vanessa, is that what you consider celebrating? And my response would be, as an athlete, as a former athlete, when you're in the moment and your adrenaline is high and you get that kind of rush of, whether it's in basketball and you've just been guarded so heavily and you finally cross them up, or you're going for a route in football and you finally beat that and make that catch or make that play. In the moment, I don't think you're necessarily thinking about being offensive, whereas it's more of a celebration. And I don't think that it's fair to tell athletes how to celebrate, with the exception of excessive swearing and inappropriate gestures when it comes to, let's say, middle finger or other things that I would not like to say on the air. But I would think it comes with that exception. And then drawing that line, where do you draw that line? And I think that comes from good judgment with the players and the officials. So that's my
So now you're just saying it's sort of a celebration instead of an offensive gesture.
Yeah.
Okay. William?
Well, Vanessa, I don't think there should be any line to be drawn, because I just think taunting is inappropriate in general. Lucas, I know you mentioned Pat Bev at the top there. When he does his little, oh, you're too small, he's 6'2", and you're doing that against a guy like LeBron James. I mean, yeah, Patrick Beverley is a great player, but you're a professional athlete at the end of the day, and you're out there representing not only yourself, but your team, the organizations, and the fans, and you don't know who you're going to offend. So just don't do it in general. I know baseball is like the worst sport when it comes to this, because now you've got all these players being flashy and celebrating with bat flips and celebrations when they're rounding the bases, and it's just like, if Willie Mays or Hank Aaron or any of those guys back in the day cranked a home run, they wouldn't bat flip, they would just round the bases and it would be done and there would be no problems, right? Because now it becomes a problem, right? Because well, you hit a home run off of me, you celebrated it. Oh, now I'm gonna throw a fastball at you. Oh, how's your shoulder now? You know what I mean? It doesn't really sit well with me to be taunting, because to Vanessa's point, yeah, you should have judgment as an athlete, to just not do it at all. It shouldn't just be about what's offensive and what's not.
So can I add something really quick?
Sure thing.
Just because it's kind of relevant. You talked about women's basketball. The Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese situation when, they did the John Cena, you can't see me. Personally, I didn't find anything wrong with that. First of all, off the bat, I think Angel Reese received way too much backlash.
Oh, and I totally agree.
Especially coming from the fact that Caitlin Clark did it first.
Right.
And that comes with a lot of taunting. Somebody always sparks it. Somebody says a comment under their breath, or maybe that we don't see as the viewers, but somebody might spark it, and then it's their response. I'm a big advocate for you get what you give. And I think Caitlin Clark agreed to that as well. I don't know exactly what she said, and I don't want to quote her, but she mentioned that she didn't expect anything less from Angel Reese, considering what she did.
So I guess staying on the topic of women's sports, what do you think of the subject then of when Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, they finish their penalty goals and they go up to the England team and do the little teacup thing? I don't know if you guys remember that from a couple of years ago.
I think personally, it's just been so...
Does that bring in race? It's
been so politicized. It shouldn't be about
politics.
It's just so politicized in general. It shouldn't be about well, just because she's a woman, she did it. I just think taunting in general, it shouldn't matter who you are. You're still doing it. It's just not a good look most of the time, if at all even. So I just don't like it, and it's not really good for any sports.
One thing I want to add is, from a spectator's point of view, let alone, the athletes, they have fun doing it. You could tell they have a huge smile on their face. They feel good. They feel some type of way about doing it. But from a spectator's point of view, you saw in the UFC fight last weekend with Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira, right? Alex walked out doing the bow and arrow, right? If you saw the match, you would know. And he was walking in as the champion. He had the belt. He was the champ. He was ready. Adesanya knocked him out, right? What does he do right after? bow and arrow. And I don't know if you saw Joe Burrow's reaction or Justin Jefferson's reaction in the crowd. They were going crazy. Even me at home with my brothers, I was like, whoa, there's no way he just did that. You know, I think it adds some kind of spice to the world of sports and the world of entertainment. And I think to take that away would take away from the competitiveness and just the environment of sports.
All right, and so you're talking about all these gestures like the bow and arrow and everything. How do you think these actions affect our youth? Is their behavior copied? Like, what do you think how the youth is interpreting this? You know, I'm talking about like kids though, like middle school, maybe high school as well. So like,
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, just like a quick answer to that, I think that athletes are role models, and you don't want to set a bad example. And I think that comes from, again, good judgment. And like I said, as the player, you should know where you draw that line of like, there are little kids watching you. How are you going to represent yourself?
And I'm the same way. You know, I think that's why I'm also against taunting, because you're putting an impression on your youth, right? It's like, I'm okay if you like score a touchdown and you want to like, you know, hit a gritty or whatever. That's fine. But it's like, you know, if you're like a cornerback and you like swat down a ball and you're doing like the no fly or whatever, you know what I mean? I just think like it just doesn't look good. Or like, you know, the Jalen Ramsey like head. I just think personally it just rubs really badly off on younger athletes. So therefore, it shouldn't be allowed.
Well, there's a party inside my city, yeah? That's a great conversation that has an argument for both sides. Thanks, guys, and let's pass it back to our anchors with some sports updates.
Thanks for the input, everyone. That was such an interesting topic of discussion. Now, looking forward to the 2023 men's basketball season, Loyola Athletics just announced April 11th that the men's basketball team will compete in the Hall of Fame Classic in Kansas City, Missouri, November 22nd and 23rd. 3 other teams will compete as well, including Boston College, Colorado State University, and Creighton University.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Rambler Sports Locker.
To stay up to date on all things Rambler Sports, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Loyola RSL and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
From all of us here at Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Julie West.
And I'm Gabbi Lumma.
We'll see you next week, and don't forget to turn off the lights.